If you are looking for a pre-built PC, Skytech is one of the most reliable companies out there if you want to buy one of these. And they also have a great customer support alongside PCs that are actually good in terms of price to performance. But they have plenty of different systems with different configurations, so which one is going to be the best one for you? Well, in today's video, I will show you the best gaming PC from Skytech for every budget and every resolution, 1080p, 1440p and 4K. The links to these PCs will be down below in the video description. With that being said, let's start. With the first one we have the Skytech Chronos 2. This one has the Ryzen 5 5600X alongside the RTX 4060, 16 gigs of DDR4 memory, a 1TB NVMe SSD, a 650W 80 plus gold power supply and a B550 motherboard. Now, if you are new to PCs, you are probably wondering, what is this? Like, I don't understand anything, right? Well, for under $1,000 you are getting a system that will be able to average over 400 FPS in esports titles, because I tested the 4060 myself recently, and then you will be able to average around 88 FPS when it comes to high demanding titles. And you can see on the screen the estimated FPS average for each individual game. As I said before, this is a test that I made myself for the RTX 4060. So for under $1,000 you are getting a great 1080p system, and you can also play at 1440p 60 plus FPS on average, of course depending on the game and the settings. Moving up in price, we have the Skytech Azure 2, which comes with the i7 12700F alongside the RTX 4070. Now, this is a 1440p system. If you want to play at 1080p, I think the last one is going to be enough, and this is more of a 1440p gaming PC. Of course, if you have a 1080p monitor and you will upgrade to 1440p eventually, this is a great choice if you have the budget to buy it. And the 4070 is a 1440p 240 plus FPS on average gaming GPU if you're interested in playing esports titles. When it comes to high demanding games, on a 12 frame average from TechSpot at 1440p ultra settings, by the way, in very high demanding titles, as you can see, the RTX 4070 was able to average over 90 FPS, which is amazing performance when it comes to 1440p ultra. Also, you can turn on DLSS, which is the NVIDIA upscaler, and get basically free performance. I've tested DLSS myself and I didn't notice the difference with my human eyes, to be honest, but if you want to play native with no DLSS or frame generation on, which is the upscaler technology, you can expect 90 plus FPS on average, but once again it will depend on the game and the settings. You can go to TechSpot and see the individual games yourself, but these are very high demanding titles on high to ultra settings. Now, if you spend a bit of extra money, you can get the Blaze 4 Mini, and I think this one is a much better option because you get the RTX 4070 Super. In terms of CPU, you get the AMD Ryzen 7 5700, which is a great CPU to pair with the 4070 Super, and you get 32 gigs of DDR4 memory instead of 16 gigs of RAM, which is going to be helpful if you want to do multitasking or if you want to start creating content or streaming. As you can see on the same 12 frame average I mentioned before, the 4070 Super was able to average 108 FPS, which is quite more powerful than the RTX 4070 non-super, and remember, is less than $100 more expensive. So if you have the budget to buy it, of course go with the Blaze 4 Mini instead, and you will be getting not only a better gaming performance but also more memory in 32 gigs of RAM. Then moving up a tier, we have the Blaze 4. This is not the mini version. I think it looks beautiful though. Every Skytech case actually looks amazing in my opinion. This is just a side note and they have plenty of airflow. But yes, this one has the 4070 Super as well, but you get the Ryzen 7 7700X for the CPU, which is faster than the last one, and also you are on the AM5 platform here, which means that it's a very upgradable system over time. If down the line, for example, you want to swap the CPU to the fastest CPU in the market right now, which is the Ryzen 7 7800X3D, you can do it without having to change the motherboard. Where if you go with the last one, for example, and you want to jump up to the best CPU in the market, you will have to upgrade the motherboard in order to support DDR5 and the AM5 CPU, which would be the 7800X3D. Then for the rest of the components, you get 32 gigs of DDR5 memory this time instead of DDR4, and then you get a 1TB Gen 4 SSD. In terms of performance, you can expect around 108 FPS on average, just like the last one at 1440p if you want to play high GPU demanding titles. If you want to play high CPU demanding games like Flight Simulator, for example, you can expect even faster performance than the last one because the CPU is slightly faster in terms of gaming. Then if you're willing to spend around $2,000, you can get the Chronos PC with the same CPU, Ryzen 7 7700X, but this time you get the RX 7900 XTX for the GPU. This is the second fastest GPU in the entire market and it's a great 4K resolution gaming graphics card. So I recommend you buying this system if you want to play at 4K ultra settings or if you want to play 1440p very high FPS, and you will eventually upgrade to 4K down the line on a 12 average, but this time at 4K resolution ultra settings. The RTX 4090, as you can see, is the fastest one, but it's also very expensive. The 7900 XTX is the second fastest one with an average of 93 FPS. Remember, very high demanding titles. And then if we take a look at 1440p, the 7900 XTX was able to average 150 FPS, so very high frame rates for a 1440p monitor. In terms of ray tracing performance, Nvidia is much better, but the 7900 XTX was able to average over 70 FPS when it comes to ray tracing enabled at 1440p high to ultra settings. So it's still very solid performance, but if ray tracing is your main thing, there's going to be an alternative system in the description for around the same price with an RTX GPU because it will just perform better. Then if you have more money to spend, for $2,700 you can get the Prism 3, which has a Ryzen 7 7800 X3D, and as I said before, this is the fastest CPU on the market when it comes to gaming performance. And then we have the RTX 4080 Super, which is very similar in terms of rasterized performance to the 7900 XTX, maybe slightly slower, but you are not going to notice a difference anyway. And then it's much faster when it comes to ray tracing performance if you're interested about that. And it has DLSS, which is the upscaler from Nvidia, and it has a better image quality than FSR, which is the upscaler from AMD. That's something that I really value, especially at this price point and resolution, because if you're going to play at 4K, DLSS become more relevant, especially in high demanding titles if you want to achieve higher frame rates. Then we have 32 gigs of DDR5 memory once again, a 420 all-in-one liquid cooler, which is a complete overkill for this Ryzen 7, but if you want to upgrade down the line to a more beefy CPU that will require more cooling, you can stick with the CPU cooler and it's going to be completely fine. And then you get 2TB of Gen 4 SSD instead of 1TB, a 1000W 80 plus watt power supply. Honestly, a great system, and if you have the money to buy it, you will not regret buying this PC. And last but definitely not least, if you just want the best computer out there from Skytech, you can get the Legacy 4. This one has the i9 14900K, which is one of the fastest CPUs in the market for gaming, and in my opinion the best CPU if you want a balance between gaming, content creation and productivity work, because the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D is amazing for gaming, but if you're going to do production work and this type of stuff, the i9 14900K is going to be much better in that regard. And then you get the RTX 4090, which is the fastest GPU in the entire market in terms of rasterized performance and in terms of ray tracing performance. And also if you want to do content creation and streaming. Then you get 64 gigs of DDR5 memory, which is a complete overkill if you're just going to do gaming, but if you do other things such as content creation, 3D rendering and things of that nature, this is going to help you out, especially if you are a professional. Then you get 2TB of Gen 4 SSD, which you can always upgrade because the motherboard has more than one M.2 slot, so it's very easy to upgrade the storage if you want to down the line. And the price is $4,400, very expensive, but if you have the budget to buy it and you just want the best performance out there, that's totally valid, and this PC is going to be your best option in my opinion. Also, if you are willing to buy from Amazon or maybe from another company that's not Skytech, you will have my video on the best pre-built PCs of the month for every budget and every resolution in the top right of the screen, and some of the deals there are actually better than some of the deals here, but Skytech is still very reliable, and if you buy a system from here, I can safely recommend you buying from this company. Also, if you found this video helpful, subscribe. It will help the channel a lot, and I'm giving a PC away inside of my community as soon as we hit 10 members. That's the top link in the description. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.